frigid Wednesday afternoon. We have Matt Shermer in the house coming in to catch up on the show.
Absolutely.
This is Three Guys Who Love Sports. If you haven't been here before, we welcome you. My name is Chuck Burge, and this show is to honor guys that are going through mental and physical issues. If we just take their mind off what they're going through for an hour a week, and you help somebody as well, then wouldn't that be a cool place to be? Want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Robert Kinney. Robert, how are you?
Cold.
Everybody's cold.
Everybody's cold.
Everybody's
If
cold.
you're not cold, there's something extra wrong with you.
If you're not cold, there is something extra wrong with you. Matt, you come sit over here if you like to. Yeah. What'd you order to eat today?
Well, I went with the French dip, and then I was informed that that is only available on the menu between Friday and Monday. So I swapped it out, and what direction did I go with?
Larry, get him one of those chairs. There you go.
I can't remember what the heck I went. It's delectable. I have no doubt about that.
I went with the lime cilantro, again, with the baked potato. I haven't had that in a while, so I thought I'd go with that. So if you haven't eaten at Miller's Ale House, you need to come on out and see Sean, the best bartender in the world, out in the Florida room, I guess they call it. Is that what they call it?
Well, I don't know if they call it that, but when you go up to
it's
try
the Florida
to
room,
hook up all of this equipment, it's definitely the Florida room.
All right, well, there you go. All right. So we're going to get into sports, and we're going to welcome back our many-time guest, Mr. Brent Rittersdorf. Brent, how are you, buddy?
How are we doing? Hey, I know it's cold out there, but I'm just heating up. Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
he's
I
ready to
love the
roll.
way he thinks. That's fantastic.
Man, he wrote that one down on Saturday night.
Right,
He's
I'm
like,
just
yeah,
heating up.
I'm in.
And
Like
I didn't get the
Flynn,
cilantro
baby.
lime. I went with just a good old friend, Coors Light.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Nothing
all right.
wrong with the silver bullet.
No. We love Miller's Ale House. We've been doing the show here about a year and a half now, and everybody's great. Alexa getting married in 66 days, and Bill Cuthbert, general manager. Everybody's fantastic here. But as Brent said, it's time to talk about sports. What a crazy week we have had since about this time last Wednesday. Maybe 10 minutes later is when Saban said, "I'm out of here." And look at how much has happened since then. I mean, the next day it was Belichick, and
Dominoes everywhere.
dominoes everywhere, and it's just been a crazy week.
It's been a whirlwind weekend. Somewhere along the way, too, there actually were some football games played, too, right?
Yeah, we might talk about those too. Yeah.
So how do you feel about Mayo? For everybody who can't see his hat on TV, he is a Patriots fan. So
And his jacket and his shirt.
I actually watched the inaugural Gerard Mayo press conference today. So
Did you?
that
Was
a
it
lot of fun.
was it Darth Hoodie-esque? We're just going to play football. I'm not
No.
going to talk about a lot of things.
Actually,
I don't blink.
He said, I think one of the first things he said was, "I'm not Bill Belichick." So there you go. And
there you go.
He actually sat behind a table with Robert Kraft and was open. It wasn't the lectern. So yeah, it was fun. I think there's a lot of excitement, and we'll see what happens. Over the next off season and what they're going to do inside.
Are you excited about it?
I'm cool with it.
It's tough to follow Belichick, so
Yeah, I mean,
being
you
cool with
know,
it's kind of like excited.
I think you really are in a position where you look at the end of the season and you're like, okay, there's 50% of you that wants to see Belichick stay, right? For all of the reasons you could talk forever. And then there's the other 50% of it where you're like, it's probably time for a change for both entities. And think about any boss, employee relationship, any relationship you can think of, how many of them last for 24 years?
Very, very few.
Right? I mean, so I think it's
Only a handful in between massage super parlor guys and Darth Hoodies. So
exactly,
So
Well,
Rick-
and I think you look at like the longevity of that team and the succession plan of that team, which is where I think Gerard Mayo was involved with. Jonathan Kraft,
the Robert's son.
Right, he wants the team, right, and he wants his team back because he knows it's going to be his team. He's running it. He's doing all the high level stuff, and I think at some point there was conversations with Robert and Jonathan. It's like, no, we want our team back. We want to get control over this thing, and have a succession plan that way. Which is why I think you saw they moved so quickly with the Gerard Mayo part.
Well, it's funny. I was sitting around this morning, and I was thinking, I really want to ask Brent this question. I know you're not as big a college fan as you are pro, but what was a bigger move? The college rank losing Saban or the pros losing Belichick, and obviously Belichick's not gone. He's going to coach somewhere.
Now, I think I think it really kind of just depends on whether you're a Saturday guy or a Sunday guy.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the Saturday guy, the Nick Saban thing is a big deal. I mean, he did so much for the sport. And by the way, he has a winning record against Belichick. When he coached in Miami, he actually was 2-0 against Bill. So
Was he really?
yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting fact.
You know, I'll go the opposite direction just because Saban was still, dare I say, in front of a Patriots fan, relevant. You know, Bill
last 2 or 3 years.
Bill hasn't been very good. So, you know, the idea that Belichick either is a coach, isn't a coach, is coaching somebody else, definitely less. But, you know, one thing else, you know, I get lost on this whole thing. He's 71 years old. I don't understand all these 85-year-old owners who are like, well, this guy's a whippersnapper. Let's bring in this guy. I don't get it. I mean, if I own a team that, you know, every guy on the team grew up with a PS5, or you know what I mean? You know, and here's Belichick who doesn't understand this or this or this. You know, the old curmudgeon. You know what? I just don't see it. I think it's going to take a bad owner like a Blank or a Jair to give this guy a job, because I don't think any of the other people would do it.
I think when you look at these guys, you know, these 32 owners, they're the most powerful people, some of the most powerful people
Absolutely.
on the planet. And with power comes huge egos. And you look at guys like Jerry, and you look at guys like Arthur Blank, and who are in their 80s, and they want to win a damn Super Bowl. And they're thinking, okay, well, what's my short-term gain versus my long-term result going to be? And I don't, maybe if I'm Jerry Jones, I may not have but 5 or 6 Christmases left in me. So if I can get one, who's going to be the guy that can come in here in the few years I got left and can win a big game? Not, I mean, that's great. You know, McCarthy's won a ton of games for Dallas. Dallas played great at home, except for this past week.
He wins a lot in September and October.
But who's going to win the game in January? Who's going to win that game? And I think that's what you're looking for when you're one of those two guys. And I agree with what you're saying long term. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of talent out there that's probably going to bring this. But if you've got that ego, you got that power, you got that money, and you want to get one in the next 3 or 4 years, you need someone to win that big game.
So this is an ego battle between Arthur Blank and Lurie and Jerry Jones?
No, I actually think it's going to be an ego battle between Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones. Because can you imagine a Belichick going to arguably from, you know, win at greatest dynasties, which was 3 of them in New England, and then going and coaching the best sports franchise arguably out there,
The most expensive.
and then maybe even winning a Super Bowl in Dallas?
If Brady left and won a Super Bowl and Belichick left and won a Super Bowl, the Kraft family would roll over before they died.
Well, and that's the thing is Robert Kraft can make the argument to place blame for Brady leaving, even though everybody had it. He can blame
Absolutely.
Belichick for Brady leaving, right?
Sure.
Because Brady's come out and saying, you know, Belichick said, "Oh, he can't play anymore," and then he went down and won a damn Super Bowl
At Tampa.
right?
Yep.
But if Belichick goes to Dallas or Atlanta or whoever it is it's going to be, we'll talk about that, and wins a Super Bowl, now the Kraft's got no one to blame.
Nope.
They can't blame it. They can't put that blame on anybody else, and it's going to be a real fun watch.
I look around the league at the Sean McVays and what's our buddy for the Dolphins, the coolest
Mike
dude.
McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel. You know, I look at all these guys and then I look at Darth Hoodie and I'm like, this game has passed him by. I don't think anybody's going to win a championship when they hire a 71-year-old guy who doesn't get along well with others, has never played well with others. You know, he's going to come in, we're going to do things this way. That's not what a lot of the people in 2024 want to, you know, that's not the coaching style that's hip or people want to play for. So
Yeah,
it's going
to be a lot of fun to watch. And you got some great young talent. What's the offensive coordinator for Detroit? Right, he's pretty fun, pretty powerful, and he's going to have some
I
opportunities.
think we
down the
interviewed
road
him,
too.
didn't we? Did the Falcons?
He's-
No, they
he-
can't interview him because he's still playing.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But
yeah.
he's going to be on the list for some interviews post this round of opportunities flushing out.
Yeah, yeah. Where do you think he'll wind up, Brent? Do you have an idea? Or everybody say Atlanta's a front runner, but I think Belichick is Atlanta's front runner, but I don't know that Atlanta is Bill Belichick's front
Well, I
runner.
think Atlanta is a safe landing spot. Okay, and what do I mean by safe? It's like, oh well, my son applied to go to college at Yale and Cornell and to Southern State. Well, he can get into Southern State, no problem. But I really wanted to go to Yale. So I think you look at plus that fan base. You look at, New England's fan base, and then you're going to go to a fan base in Atlanta, which just it's nothing compared to regionally and that kind of thing.
Well, you're right.
I think Belichick is a guy who loves to create history. He wants that record, but he
Well, he's
also
like
loves. But he
19
also
games
loves.
short? Is that what he is?
But he also loves the history of the game. So I think the Dallas thing is really intriguing from a fan base type of thing.
And I'd like to just throw out, as we talk about horrible owners and what they're getting ready to decide, if Jerry Jones wasn't such a horrible owner, he wouldn't have fired Jimmy Johnson 30 years ago this year,
And then put him in the Ring of Fame.
And he'd probably have another 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Because the way that guy was drafting, clearly from 1988 through 94, he was looking at the league differently than every other GM / play caller / anything. And he took away the one thing that was giving him immortality.
Yeah.
And because he wanted to do it by
And
himself.
speaking of Jimmy
Where do you
Johnson,
think he gets? Where do you think? Let's just say that. There's all these other options that are out there too. But where does he go to get them? He's got to get 14 wins past Don Shula. So can you get? Can you get the wins quicker in Atlanta, or do you get them quicker in Dallas?
So either way, he's not getting the wins in the season.
No.
So you're
Not
automatically
with those
looking
two
at
teams.
It's gonna be a two.
two possibly. Hypothetically, all these teams are bad enough to where you could say one team wins. 1 year you win 6, 1 year you win 7. You still haven't gotten it done by 8, going into your third year. And I just want to throw out how close Bushy Mustache out in Kansas City is. Andy Reid
He's not
is
far behind.
flying up the charts. And unlike Belichick, who's only getting 3 wins a year, Andy's going 12, 12, 12. And so,
Belichick's
even when
only
you
gotten
get it,
3
you
wins
might
a
only,
year for 2 years. The first year and this
before
past
that,
year.
it
There's
was,
a lot of other years if you want to go down the reference. say he's gotten
I
more than 3
understand,
wins.
but when you look at Andy Reid, he's won 6 or 7 straight divisions,
championships.
and it's 12 wins. It's 12 wins. So he's. I think at this point, even if Belichick gets it, he's getting it for a week and a half. Honestly, I think you're the winningest coach. Oh, you just got passed. I think it'll be that short lived, but.
Who knows?
I guess that'll be
never know.
that'll be a podcast to look at in 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah. I hope so. Sitting right at this table, I hope.
And Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator in.
Matt knew that.
Yeah, so you look at the list here for the Falcons. They've completed their interviews with Belichick and Callahan and Evero and Wilkes and
Raheem
Weaver.
Morris.
I don't think they actually have.
They haven't done Raheem Morris because he just
Oh,
became
that's right.
available this week. And Jim Harbaugh. But, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of choices. And I get disappointed on draft day all the time. Why didn't he pick the guy I wanted? And it turns out I might not be that smart. So I personally am rooting for somebody who I don't expect.
So you're still bitching about Bijan. You don't think he was the right guy?
Well, when they named defensive rookie of the year this year, I know who's going to get it, and it's the guy we passed on. But either way, at the end of the day,
Even after Philadelphia's collapse?
absolutely, he was one of the reasons why they didn't completely collapse. But he was a stud. I just don't understand why Rich McKay has a job. You go back to this whole. If blank really wants to win, then he should stop listening to the guy in the chair next to him, because that guy hasn't led to.
And him and Belichick are not best buddies.
I don't doubt that.
I don't understand why the Falcons have to say we just interviewed so and so. It's like, who cares? It's just just tell us when you get to the right.
Tell us when you hire
it's like,
somebody.
what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah. That's crazy.
I think it would be. I think it would be, as a Falcons season ticket holder, I think it'd be great if Bill came to Atlanta. It'd be fun because I've always enjoyed watching him. I also think it would be great to see the awkward smiles on all the Falcons fans that literally have to come to grips with this guy beat us 28-3, and now we're hoping that he can actually get us a Super Bowl. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
I just woke up in the middle of the night again.
Well, let's make some predictions of where we think Bill will go. I'm going to say Dallas. I don't think Atlanta's the best fit for Bill. I think
Is
Jerry Zigos.
McCarthy has been officially fired?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to point that part
true.
out
No.
as we're already naming him as
But
the head coach of a place
I
that
think-
doesn't have a vacancy.
I think that's where he'll
I think you're
wind
going
up.
to see
I could
that.
be wrong.
I think you're going to see that happen. I mean, listen, forget about if Bill goes to Dallas or not. McCarthy can't be the coach there. He can't win a bit. McCarthy's not going to be the coach next year.
They can't come back with what they had this year.
No.
I mean, Dak's he's not a Super Bowl quarterback. He threw 2 picks, and we'll get into that game in a little bit.
And
but,
and the whole world really expected Tony Pollard to really step up. You know, your first year without Emmett, you're going to get the rock all the time, and just nothing but a disappointment there. So
I think I might actually have to blame you for that because I think you were like hyping Tony Pollard up for me on my fantasy draft when I took him.
Is that when you took him?
I think you did.
Then that worked.
I think you messed me up on that. So
I think that.
Thank
that
you very
just-
much.
It messed you up.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Cost me to miss the playoffs.
while these two are arguing over Tony Pollard, let's go ahead with our Alvin Jameson commercial.
Hey, Alvin Jameson here, the mortgage guy. Are you looking to get pre-approved for a home loan? Or maybe you want to build a house from the ground up? Are you curious, or better yet, is your significant other on your back about making renovations in your current home? Call me. I have options for you. All self-employed individuals. Are you torn between writing off all your income or having to show your income to qualify for a house? I have a third alternative for you. Whether you're a W-2 employee, self-employed individual looking to do a purchase or pull money out of your current house, or better yet, we can't forget the investors out there. If you have that high interest rate, hard money loan and looking to refinance out of it, again, give me a call. I have options. Below are the states that I'm personally licensed in. Call me, 404-587-9033. Again, 404-587-9033. Visit the website, alvinjameson.com.
Back. We appreciate Alvin Jameson being the sponsor of Three Guys Who Love Sports. And we are now back. And as Brent said, there were some ball games this week. So let's talk about some ball games. Biggest surprise for you, Mr. Robert, of the past weekend?
Clearly Green Bay, because they were behind, the boys were behind the woodshed immediately. I didn't think Houston would rough Cleveland up as much as they did, but that was still a game for like a little bit. And but yeah, that Green Bay, they just took it behind the woodshed. And at the end of the day, you're talking about how horrible Dak is. 400 yards passing.
You sure did.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
he'll
but
get
a lot of that is in garbage time.
Oh,
they
it
were
was.
down 48-16 or whatever.
But it's but yeah, that was a heck of a win by Green Bay. Did not see that at all coming. And guess what you win? You win a trip to San Francisco.
There you go. Yeah.
Boy.
Well, when you were watching that, because I kind of had that penciled in as one of my two top, so I'll acquiesce on that for you. What were your thoughts when you saw them? They actually took the ball, and you're like,
Instead of
okay, we're going to
deferring.
go ahead and take the ball, and you're like, let's go, and then they go right down and score, and you're like, wow, it was like, and then it was just done.
And
It seemed
Tony,
like it was done.
Fans were leaving at the end of the half.
yeah,
First
Tony
half.
Romo and Jim Nantz did a good job. They said they took it. They wanted to score first, and they wanted to put Dallas behind where they don't play well. And that's what they did. And they continued and continued. And Dak was helping with pick sixes and the throw to Jair Alexander, which was a very nice
Horrible
interception.
passes.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm saying this for years, and Robert, Larry, you can back me up. Dak Prescott is not an NFL superior quarterback. He's an average NFL quarterback.
What he is, he's that group between 9 and 16 or 17, which technically will get you into the playoffs on a semi-regular basis. They'll have some ESPN highlights, but he doesn't look that good.
Dallas is always, this is our year, and then it's never their year. Has it been in, 29 years now?
Well,
27 years, something like that.
They can win it home, with the exception of this past week. They don't play well on the road, and then you're right. The Tony Pollard, the run game part, really was a disappointment. But it is certainly fun to watch CeeDee Lamb catch those balls. He's great to watch.
Well, I want to know where Aaron Jones was all year on my fantasy team, and what a game he had.
Yeah, he is incredible, and you're right. He didn't show up
He was
most of the
hurt
regular
most of the
season,
year, yeah.
But he looked incredible. I saw this stat: Green Bay is 6-0 all time at AT&T.
3 in the playoffs and 3 in regular season, right?
Three against the boys in the season, 2 versus the boys in the postseason, and 1-0 in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
wow! So
wow.
Send Green Bay to Dallas, and it's a dream come true for them.
Fun story. Story.
That is. Well, there are some other games. Tampa Bay and Philly, everybody said it was a rout, but at halftime it was a one-score game. It was 16-9, and all that Philly needed. And when they stopped that tush push, I knew that game was over.
Yeah, when they almost ripped Jalen Hurts' helmet off during stopping that tush push.
Yeah.
You knew that was going sideways. And, that Tampa Bay game, it was going away real quick like the Buffalo game. And then the last 3 minutes of that first half, all of a sudden it opened it up for the Eagles to possibly have a chance. Also opened it up for the Steelers to possibly have a chance. It just goes to show you, we talked about it last week or the week before. Final 2 minutes of the game, final 2 minutes of the first half. Just because you're up big, 28-3. Anything else you'd like to think? You better never take your foot off the gas.
And that was where I was going to go if I had to take. Obviously the biggest surprise was that Green Bay push, but my second surprise really was the fact that you bring up the fact of that Buffalo game. The Steelers had a couple options to keep that thing close, and that's great for the Steelers. I don't know. When we get down to the end talking about this Kansas City Buffalo game, I've got some thoughts on that.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
It was a good game. Steelers got back within 7 in the fourth quarter, didn't they?
Steelers got close. I was giving up 10 points in a little wager with a friend of mine, and he started talking smack at a 7-point lead, and thank goodness that's when it went away. But
it went 14, 31, 17.
And it doesn't go in the Steelers' favor, and everybody's all torqued up about Tomlin walking off the press conference. Everything. He's gonna be back next year.
Oh, he said he was. He said I'll be coaching the team next. Hey, they're not that far off. They're a lot like Atlanta. They got some talented players on that team. They need a quarterback.
Nah, they're better than Atlanta.
Yeah,
you think so?
I don't know. I like Warren a lot, but I don't think it's a very good roster, honestly. I mean, outside of T.J. Watt, I think that roster, the idea that you're starting a guy in Mason Rudolph, who he's your third stringer, your first stringer who you took in the first round 2 years ago is healthy. I think it's a garbage fire. I think
let's just reverse.
Scary there.
If you put Pittsburgh in the NFC South in reverse and have Atlanta play. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, they got Pickens. Pickens a good receiver. Najee Harrison's a good back.
Pickens is as good as he was in Georgia. Every third game, he's going to amaze you by something, and then he's going to do dumb, bonehead, don't show up, and all that other stuff. So I don't know.
Speaking of Georgia, I heard at least 2 or 3 people on this show talk about what a great defense Philly was going to have because they had all these Georgia defenders, and they became a garbage fire at the end of the year. They wound up giving over 30 points a game.
They hired Matt Patricia.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm like, well,
but you think about this very table for the last 4 months. Clearly let's just send them to the Super Bowl now.
Talking about Philly?
Yeah, they were 10-1 and did not get to 12 wins.
That's crazy.
How is it possible that you're 10-1 in the NFL, dominating the world? Everybody's already booked your reservations for the Super Bowl, and even including the playoffs, you can't get to 12.
No, with everybody except the Philly fan base, they started hating this team. They started hating this team around Halloween. They just were going the other way, and you start talking, and the Philly fans, God bless them.
Boston fan talking about Philly fan.
That's right.
It might take him a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
here.
we're a little bit nicer.
Hey, I'll just say this, and with Philly as well, losing Kelsey. He's the center. He's the Gibraltar in that line of scrimmage. He is the epicenter for the tush push, and losing him, all of a sudden, I don't know who they bring in, but it's not like, oh yeah, we'll just keep running that play. That might not work anymore.
That won't sustain itself. Yeah.
And the one game we haven't talked about is probably the best game of the weekend was the Lions and the Rams.
Unbelievable game.
Yeah. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted that to come out, but I'm happy to see Goff do all right in that game. That's going to be an interesting game this week, and we'll get to that too. But I know Matt Shermer is here. Matt's a big Lions fan, and we'll hopefully get him on the show here in the next couple of weeks talking about his Lions.
And hey, congrats to Detroit. I mean, hosting a game. I can only imagine being in that stadium. I was listening to Peter King on his podcast. He was at the game, and he says, he goes, it was one of the top 5 experiences from a fan standpoint that he's been to in a playoff game. Yeah. So he said that stadium was just electric, and that they were going. I mean, it was a competitive game, and maybe if it's played in a neutral field, maybe the ending's a little different. But it was played in Detroit, and that's what they played, and got the home field.
And thanks to the Cowboys, they now have another home game. So
and let's close the book on the trade. Stafford goes to the Rams. Goff goes to the Lions. Well, that trade's officially over now. So the Rams got Stafford and got a Super Bowl. So that's great. And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a parade. They got their parade. Listen to the take. Why did the Lions win by a point? For all those picks, they got defensive back Ifeatu Melibubu, who's really good. And
can he say that on the air?
Adam, the intern, really wishes he was here to correct me on that one.
Yeah.
They also got Jameson Williams.
Adam is watching.
Oh, yeah.
Is he?
We're going to talk about him.
He
Your
is,
Cowboys suck.
he had a couple comments on
but you had Jameson Williams, Josh Paschal. Then they got Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. They got all of these players from those picks.
Yeah.
That's how you got to do it in the NFL. If there's somebody out there willing to go for Justin Fields or somebody, you strike while the iron's hot and you get as many picks as you can.
How do you not love watching Laporta play too? He is so fun.
Yeah, he is fun to watch. Yeah.
If it was 1962, it wouldn't look any different. He's that guy.
He's that guy. He's a Ditka or whatever. Well, what's funny is they were interviewing Kelly Stafford, and their girls didn't know who to pull for because of their dad. Just who do you put? She said, "Well, of course we pull for Daddy."
and I thought it was very cool at the end of the game. And I know at the end of the game, everybody always goes around and says, "Hey," to the defensive backs say, "Hey, we got the same position, so we don't go head to head." But you could tell there was a lot more hugs on that field with Stafford and the Lions players and Goff and the Rams players. Just such an interesting scenario.
It was a cool dynamic. It was a good game. It was the best game of the weekend by far.
Clearly.
And we'll get into what we think is going to be the best case of this weekend in a segment or two away. But any final thoughts from the games of this week, Brent?
Did you have any comment on the Houston-Cleveland game? Did we even talk about that one?
Yeah, a little bit. But Stroud's just the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, as a rookie quarterback, he's one of the best there's ever been.
Well, and Houston wasn't even. I think their over/under for this year was like 5 games, maybe 4.5 games.
Yeah.
They come out of the playoff, and you get a true rookie who, Jordan Love, you could say whatever, but he's had 2 or 3 years of watching and things like this, and Stroud just comes out and it's like, here you go, and you don't have any big name receivers, and he just made them. It was awesome.
But let's back that one up a hair, and wow, there was another crazy trade between these two teams just a couple of years ago. Who did the Texans get? They got a guard, Kenyon Green, who is up there and starting all year for them. They got Will Anderson Jr. for and this is for Deshaun, who of course is now the 3rd or 4th string quarterback up there. They got Tank Dell, who halfway through the season was looking like
running the rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've still got another 1st-round pick this year, which they determined when that was going to be, because by beating the Browns, they named, okay, we got that pick because you're now out of it. And it's amazing how these two teams built up, from these trades, and then got to show it off right there in person
against the teams they traded with. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. All right. Well, let's get into our second commercial. I think we're doing the Kennesaw Express lube commercial.
There are a lot of places to get your oil change in the Kennesaw area, but if you're looking for a personal experience, then stop in at Castrol, Kennesaw Express Lube, or Lost Mountain Express Lube. We'll always do our best to get you in and out quickly, safely, and without a whole lot of fuss. We're a true owner-operated business where you'll find Brian under a car or a hood at one of the shops. We offer experienced, knowledgeable technicians and the latest computer software to help you maintain. Hold on, let's start that whole sentence over. We offer experienced, knowledgeable technicians and the latest computer software to help you maintain your new car warranty and keep your pride and joy running for the next 100,000 miles. We proudly offer Castrol products.
What's in your Diet Coke over there, Robert? Anything? Are you
No, it was because you told me I did such a good job
Last
couple
week?
Yeah. You're like, wow, that was great.
That was
Well,
great. Well, we certainly appreciate.
We're back to earth. So.
We certainly appreciate Brian Bristow and Kennesaw and Lost Mountain Express Lubes for being the sponsor of Three Guys Who Love Sports. And don't forget, at 7 o'clock coming up, we have the Owls Who Live Sports, which he's also a sponsor of. And before we get too much further, we want to talk about our app a little bit. Larry, do you want to tell everybody how to sign up for our app?
Yeah, it's very simple. Text app to 470-7-SPORTS or 470-777-6787. But just text the word app and you can download it.
And we would love to have you, and that way you can watch it on your phone and not have to go to the computer and watch it on Facebook or YouTube, so you can watch it straight to your phone. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Back last spring, I guess, we started a series
Many moons ago.
who was the greatest athlete that ever wore this number? And we got all the way up to 19, and then football hit, and it's been a crazy football year on many regards. But now that the college season is over, at least in terms of playing the games, we're going to talk a little bit about who is the greatest athlete, and we are all the way up to number 20. So when I first thought about who was number 20, I said, well, this is going to be no contest. It'll be who's the second best. But now, after doing a little research, I'm not so sure.
Oh, Lord.
If ATI were here, it'd be Tony Stewart, I'm sure. I think he was 20. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's way too big of a name. This guy is not Emerson Fittipaldi, but his cousin, Dramaka Fittipaldi.
Grimaldi Fittipaldi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
But there are some great athletes that wore number 20 that weren't named Barry Sanders. I'm sure Matt Shermer in the audience has said, no, there's nobody but Barry. But, however, there were some great athletes that wore the number 20, including Mike Schmidt, including Ray Allen, including Frank Robinson, including Lou Brock. So that's a pretty good group of athletes right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, Robert, based on what you said before, that you're sticking with Barry.
I am sticking with Barry. Frank Robinson would be number 2 on my list. Frank did more for baseball, and in a lot of ways, he's the first African-American manager in baseball history, and won a Triple Crown, and just a phenomenal player. But a lot of times, he also wore number 36, and he wore number 30.
We get into that a lot in this show.
We do, and that's one thing, like Kobe. If Kobe Bryant had only stuck with one of those numbers, I'd probably give him credit. But half your career was this number, and half of it was this number. So I got to go with Mr. Barry Sandbags. Watching him as a kid / young man. Didn't get better. I know. I remember the old stat. It was every year that he was in the league, he was tackled behind the line of scrimmage more than any other player. Of course, he broke more of those than any other player as well, averaging 5 yards a carry for his entire NFL career. So just unbelievable. But, unfortunately, like Megatron, trapped in Detroit. And, you look at the record, 7-9, 6-10, 12-4. They won that one playoff game until this week. So that was Barry's third year they got that playoff win. But then 5-11, 5-11. A lot of garbage up there.
Yeah, Matt, Larry, let Matt grab that mic and give us his thoughts on Barry Sanders. This is Matt Shermer, everybody. How are you, Matt?
Doing well, thank you. I grew up watching Barry Sanders. My entire time, I grew up in Michigan, so I watched the first number 20, who was Billy Sims, was a great running back.
Oh,
Oklahoma.
But Barry, I don't care. I will stack him against any. If we're just talking running back, we're talking football. I will stack Barry against any running back ever because he had so many electric 3-yard runs.
So many 3 yards that technically he ran 70 yards for those 3.
Right, 3 yards where he should have lost 5,
Correct.
7, and then every time he touched the ball, everybody just held their breath because you never knew. Was this going to be the one where he broke it for 90 yards and made somebody look stupid? He made more probably Pro Bowl players look stupid
Oh, absolutely.
than anybody.
And it's one thing when you're a little bitty guy and you got little bitty legs and you want to do those kind of cuts. His thighs were this big. Every time he would do one of those cuts, you're like, there's no way the knee and ankle can take that kind of torque. But guy was incredible. And in a category by himself, it's a very limited category for me for incredible players who left the game way before they needed to.
Way too soon.
Whether it be Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, or somebody like Sandy Koufax, where
Calvin.
you can look at it and go, wow, he only played 10 years in the NFL. If he plays a normal,
And not to take anything away from some of the great offensive line players that he had, like Lomas Brown, I think was up there, great players. But if he would have had the Dallas Cowboys
Absolutely.
line or the Washington Redskins offensive line,
He might still be playing.
he might still be playing, and he would have run for 6,000 yards a season. He would have gone.
And you are right, but I will say this as well, because if he'd have done that, then he doesn't make all the great moves that we love about Barry Sanders. Half of his mystique is, man, there's 3 guys in the backfield when I got the ball. So, he's incredible, though.
I get a lot of the highlight things for him on my Facebook.
Sure.
Watching some of those. But I was watching one the other day, and it's like, I think it was against Dallas, and there are like 3 Dallas linemen converging on him. And one of these linemen just stops and stands up, and then all of a sudden Barry runs around behind him. And I kind of wonder, how badly did he get yelled at, for stopping. But at the same time, there were 3 guys
Right.
zeroing in on Barry. No normal player would have avoided that.
And because he did it to everybody every weekend, that's the only reason why the guy didn't get ridiculed more in the tape room on Monday or Tuesday.
Probably so, yeah. He's always be my second favorite back. Sweetness is mine all time, but Barry Sanders was so much fun to watch, even when he was at Oklahoma State that we went. Yeah, great back. Love to watch him play. So it's a real toss-up for me. Brent, who do you got at number 20?
Yeah, I think Barry Sanders was awesome, and I'm glad you guys have spent so much time talking about what somebody could have done, winning no rings, and that's great. I think he was an awesome guy. But I look at all these players on here, and you do have a phenomenal list. Obviously, we're not going to, Frank Robinson did so many other things off the field as well as on the field, but 5 World Series, 2 rings. 2 World Series rings, so I think that's important to think about. Ed Reed played 13 seasons, got a ring.
Yeah.
Got a ring.
Mike Schmidt got a ring, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
Absolutely,
so.
1980.
Brian Dawkins played 16 years, 4 All-Pro, no rings.
Yeah.
Lou Brock went to 3 World Series,
Won at least 2 of them,
2
right?
rings. And then my man, Ray Allen.
Yeah.
19 seasons, 171 playoff games, 4 finals, 2 rings. I think I watch him play. I watch a lot of basketball, and he's your only basketball player on this list. A ton of talent at number 20, but for me, Ray Allen is number 1.
Ray Allen's number 1.
That was a great team in Boston, but until he got there, it wasn't dynamic.
Correct.
When you added him to Pearson and Garnett, it was
was
all
so
of a sudden
fun.
it was like,
It was a fun team.
And it was
watch,
kind of an
yeah.
interesting thing too back then, because that was kind of like the beginning of like, oh, we're just going to go ahead and put some.
we need 3.
We're just going to put these 3 together.
3 of everything will work.
Yeah, and you look back at the history of some of those zones in sports, and that's definitely a turning point of the way how teams were constructed back then. And
Agreed.
A point of actually where in the NBA where it's like, hey, I'm going to go follow my player. I want to follow my guy versus the team thing. So it kind of started a trend like that too.
Yeah, Ray Allen was a great basketball player, no doubt. So we got 2 Barry Sanders, 1 Ray Allen, and I'm going to go a different route too. One of the things that we didn't talk about, Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson was the only person to win the MVP in the National League and in the American League.
Good.
So,
Reds and Orioles.
Yep. So, and he played for twice as long as Barry Sanders did. I mean, he played 21 years. I think 67 to 87 or something. No, might have been earlier than that.
Frank would have been like 1956
To
would have been-
76.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he played over 20 years, and longevity, the success he had not only in both leagues, but as a manager and as a
And it's fun watching, looking at some of those baseball card stats for some of those older players.
absolutely.
They played for like 20 years. It was just 20, 22 years, 20, and then that doesn't include their minor league careers.
Correct.
no. Yeah.
And you know, once again, Frank Robinson won a Triple Crown 10 years into his career. You know, this wasn't while he was 20 or something like that. You know, Frank Robinson, and not to belittle the point, but it's a little tougher being an African American in the 50s and 60s and 70s. You know, when they hand you that thing and they say, "We're going to make you the first coach of all time," you know, that's one of those things where, you know, they picked Jackie for a reason because they figured he could, you know, take all of the pressure. Well, that's the same reason why they gave it to Frank, because they knew Frank, you know, would yell at people back or do whatever he needed to. And
It was a big deal.
it was a huge deal.
It was a huge deal, and as big as Jackie Robinson's deal was, 42, right? Frank was just as big a deal. I think he was a trendsetter.
Absolutely.
He was something else. He was a great athlete, fun to watch, seemed like a genuine person when you saw interviews with him and all. So I'm going to give my number 20 to Frank Robinson with a very, very, very close second to Barry Sanders. So
And I'll just say that I do agree with both of you as far as championships. I usually
ride that train.
I do with having the best, but who's Barry? I had to go Barry.
It's not a bad choice. I don't think anybody made a bad choice.
Yeah,
I
it
think-
was a good lineup. Number 20 is a good lineup.
yeah, it was. It was.
Oh, I wonder who would be number 21.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Could it be Sanders back-to-back weeks? I think it could.
Wow, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any Sanders that wore 22? We're gonna have to go 3 deep.
I don't think the double deuce is going to garner a Sanders. I'm sure there was a Sanders who wore it. But,
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get into that. Well, let's get our last commercial done. Mr. Dan Fisher and American Axis.
Tired of going to the same old places for the same old thing? American Access has your solution. Whether you're looking for something new to do before or after the game, bachelor or bachelorette party, or somewhere new to take those out-of-town guests, American Access has 3 Atlanta locations in Marietta, Tucker, and now in downtown at the Works. Each and every location is conveniently, but not coincidentally, located next to a brewery. Look us up at American Access or give us a call at 678-763-3635 to schedule your next adventure.
Is it because breweries in there that you've never messed that one up? I mean, you've been very good with American Axis.
Ever since I added the word brewery.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hey, you know, I go through the notes that our wonderful sponsors give me, and, you know, I felt like that was a horse that needed to be beat down the back stretch.
Yeah, speaking of American Access, we've got NBA has an after-hours event there sometime this month, don't they, Brent?
They do. It's the 4th Thursday of the month, whatever that date is. Merida Business Association. We do a weekly networking event, and then on that last Thursday of the month, we're going over to American Access to have our monthly after-hours first one of the year. And American Access, they do a phenomenal job hosting, and they also have people that will train you and teach you how to throw the axe as well.
Absolutely. And we want to thank Matt Shermer for jumping on the mic and giving us his Detroit Lions take. Matt's a big Detroit Lions fan. We'd love to have him on the show one of the next couple of weeks.
What do you want to let him
talk about some Lions?
Hey,
You want to let him sit in for ATI and the picks tonight?
Oh, he can do that if he likes.
You know, I remember the last time they won a playoff game, he was 12. So you know.
12 and a half.
Man, I got him coming back from the bar. Man was walking away.
You
and
hit a nerve.
Bam.
You hit a nerve.
Listen, don't feed the ego. We already got a Wolverines title. I mean, maybe we'll see.
Oh, Lordy, I tell you that.
This could be the year.
That damn.
Did you go to Michigan,
with
Matt?
I did not go. I grew up in Michigan.
Yeah, I knew that, but you didn't. You didn't go to Ann Arbor.
So 91, I was not 12. I would have been.
11.
No, I would have been. I'm trying to remember. So how many? 32 years ago? I would have been 22, 20, somewhere in there.
All right.
Okay.
So old enough to know better to be a
1970?
Detroit fan.
69.
69. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
He's an elder of mine,
yeah.
but not by much. We're about the same.
Yeah, that's all right. So we're gonna get into our making our picks for the week. And Matt, since we don't have ATI here, you're welcome to join in with us and make some picks on these games. I think the only game I missed last week was the Lions-Rams game, and I picked the Lions, but they didn't cover. But I did pick the Packers plus the points.
You obviously didn't join the pigskin
No,
thing.
you didn't join our own pool, or you'd be doing really well.
You'd be doing really well.
I have so much trouble with my app doing that because even that thing that you sent me, I just couldn't open it. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd like to blame some of it on I was taking the team plus the points or something like that, but I just did not do very well last week.
Oh, really? So who's in the lead, or do we know?
That would be me.
Oh, jeez.
With someone else, and we both have the same thing. So
Yeah, but I'm the only one who has the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl, so I'll
It's
still be
still-
winning this.
Robert's got a shot.
traditionally, I do well at the start and then I fail. So.
Yeah, we know that about you, Larry. That's all right. All right, let's get into our picks for the week. First game is Houston +9 at Baltimore, and I think all these games, other than the one in Detroit, are going to be like it's going to be cold with these ball games. Maybe not San Francisco. San Francisco might be like 60s or something like that. But the other two games, Baltimore and Buffalo, are going to be cold.
Yeah, they're saying there could be a lot of snow up there in Buffalo again.
Oh, God, don't let them postpone the game again. I was so
They're
pissed
going to play it
about
on
that.
Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Just
yeah.
to make Chuck mad.
God, that was horrible. All right.
Can we
Houston,
just play the 3 games on Wild Card Week and do 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday?
I think that would be great.
Let's just play them.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right, Houston getting 9 in Baltimore. What do you think, Robert?
When is this game? Is this one of the Saturday
I think
games?
this is a Saturday
No,
game.
this is all. Yeah, Houston always gets to play the 4:30 Saturday game. In fact, if they make it to the Super Bowl, they'll probably move the Super Bowl
Bowl.
up. Yeah, they always. Yeah, they'll just move it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look to see what the high is that day. It's going to be
I saw
about 20,
20 or
25
something like
degrees.
that, yeah, in Baltimore.
Houston looks good, folks. Plain and simple, they look good. That being said, I think there's a reason why they got a bye in Baltimore, and I know typically speaking that has not benefited NFL teams since the 7-team playoff, and the one is the only team who gets the bye. I'm going Baltimore in this game. I think they're going to be running on all cylinders.
All right, Matt,
Could be a late cover by Houston.
what do you say, Matt?
Well, I don't know. I haven't watched much of Houston. I actually haven't watched much of Baltimore. But the way Lamar's playing and playing in Baltimore, I mean, I don't think the weather, unless it's like cold and blowing and like that, I don't think that'll be as much of an impact. But I got Baltimore.
Okay, laying the 9. It's funny. Weather might mean something to Houston because they play in the dome down there, and they don't play outside much.
Absolutely.
But C.J. Stroud, he came from
Ohio
that
State.
school in Columbus.
Yeah.
And they play outside.
Yeah.
And they play in the winter. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
He has played outside. He has been successful outside.
That's a good point. All right, Brent, how about you, buddy?
Mark Andrews is back for this one, right?
He
Yep.
should be.
Tight end? Yep.
Houston's going to cover this line. Houston's going to cover this line, and I believe, there's a lot of pressure when you put pressure on both these quarterbacks. Not a lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud. Ton of pressure on Lamar. Not a very good record at home in the playoffs.
No.
I think Houston covers this game and actually wins it.
Do you really? You're
I think
gonna take 'em
Lamar's
straight up.
I
Wow.
think Lamar's only won one playoff game ever.
I believe so. At home.
Yeah.
Yep.
One.
Well, when I make my picks for American Axes, I don't pick the winner. I pick the loser. So we give them the axe. So my axe this week is going to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know that they're going to win, but I do think that Houston will cover the 9.5. That's a lot of points to give a C.J. Stroud who's hot with Nico Collins and all. They've got a good little squad going on down in Houston. And I'm not talking about this year. You need to watch that team for the years coming because D'Amico Ryans has done a hell of a job.
And they
as
still
a
have more
coach down
picks
there.
coming from Deshaun Watson.
They got a lot of picks coming. So I'll give the axe to the Ravens and say that the Houston covers the 9.5.
And I will say this. Let me just throw in this one last
Or 9, I'm sorry.
gem.
You have a gem?
I don't think them covering would be out of the realm of very, very possible. But C.J. Stroud is from Rancho Cucamonga, so he's not exactly used to cold weather. He played in a couple games up there. This is going to be bitterly cold. It'll be interesting.
But Matt did point out he played at Ohio State, too.
That's what-
And they played some
that's what I'm
cold ball
saying.
games. A couple of games up there.
A couple games at Ohio State.
Lots of open air stadiums in the Big Ten.
Oh yeah.
Plenty in the winter. Yeah. All right, cool. Second game, the Packers that throttled the Dallas Cowboys, in case anybody's watching, are getting 9.5 in San Francisco. Do they have a chance like Stroud and the Strouds do?
I sure don't see it. I mean, I just, like I said, I can see a backdoor cover for Houston if it does happen that way. I think Baltimore wins that game, but I don't see how Green Bay does anything again. I think this team is focused and ready, and McCaffrey's kind of been he's taken 2 straight weeks off and a half a week off before that. I think they're going to come out like gangbusters, and you're going to see Kittle and Debo and the boys blocking downfield. And
You had to mention Kittle, didn't you?
It's just going to be a nightmare.
Well, I watched a good bit of stuff over the weekend, and there was not one person that I saw online that picked the Cowboys to lose. Everybody picked the Cowboys to beat the Packers, and Jordan Love showed up. He is here to stay. He is a good quarterback, and I think I mentioned on the show last week, 31 of the 32 touchdown passes that Jordan Love threw this year was first or second year receivers. First or second year receivers. So they're here to stay. Them and Houston could be in the Super Bowl next year. Yeah, what I'd really like to see this year is Houston and Detroit, because that would take away 2 of the teams that have never been to the Super Bowl. And I think it would be really, really cool. I'm sure Matt would be happy with that too. But I'm going to give the axe to the Niners. I think the Packers are going to come within the 9.5. I think Jordan Love's that hot. San Francisco's got a good defensive team, but 9.5 is a lot to give.
It is.
And I'll take the Packers.
I guess I
and
could
give
see
the
that
axe to the
that
Niners.
scenario going, because what you're saying, McCaffrey's going to run all up and down this field.
Oh yeah.
So the only scenario that you see that cover, McCaffrey goes crazy, he goes off, and they're up by 21, and then they just manage the clock, and then Green Bay has to throw the ball, and they sneak in, and they cover that spread. I see, but San Francisco's winning this game.
Yeah. I just
Cover
think,
or don't cover?
I
I think
San
in that
Fran-
scenario, I'm going to go with both your scenarios. I think McCaffrey goes crazy, and I think Jordan Love has to throw the ball, and he comes back in, and they get a cheap late scoring cover.
Okay.
I don't think that the San Francisco D is going to let them stay around that long.
We'll see. Matt, how about you, buddy?
I don't see Green Bay winning. Of course, I didn't really see him winning in Dallas either. But I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like they played like the game of their lives
Absolutely.
in Dallas. And I don't know if you can replicate that.
Yeah. Did Houston do the same thing though? We'll see. Right.
But I think San Francisco's defense is much better. And if they get behind, like if McCaffrey runs wild and they're up by 21, 28 points,
Yeah.
or even 14 or 17 points, and it turns Green Bay one-dimensional, and that defensive line for San Fran can tee up and just go after them.
We'll see. Well, everybody said Green Bay wouldn't play good defense, but other than the fourth quarter, they sure did play good defense
That's
in
the
Dallas.
late game on Saturday too, right?
Yep.
And let me just say that on CBS Sportsline, they had like 8 experts making picks, and 7 of the 8 did have the Packers.
Covering.
Yeah.
with the points, not winning, but covering the points.
Well, a couple of them actually had them winning, but, that's just people used to those Cowboys.
Be fun weekend.
So, I mean, I don't know about the spread, but I think San Francisco.
Okay. All right. The big game for Matt, Detroit, laying 6.5 against Tampa.
Rock City, tell us about it.
When all the post game conferences or press conferences and Dan Campbell talking about how electric the
Ford
Field
Field
was.
Yeah.
I think you're going to turn that up to 11.
Double it.
That was an incredible coaching job because you could tell he was pandering to every person who's got a ticket in that stadium.
Right.
So that was really nice.
But I mean, they're going to turn that up to 11.
Absolutely.
And I was watching the game Monday, the Philly game, and they were talking about how bad Tampa is in the red zone. Up until what was it, second quarter when they scored that touchdown, they hadn't scored a red zone touchdown in like 6 or 8 quarters or something ridiculous like that. And Detroit's defense has stepped up, especially in the red zone. So I think if Detroit doesn't beat themselves, I think they win this game running away.
Yeah. I am giving the axe to Tampa Bay. I think Detroit's going to cover the 6.5. I think Tampa Bay has done all they can do this year. Baker Mayfield's earned a lot of respect around the league this year. Earned a lot of respect from me. But I think what Detroit's got going, and I really want to see them get to the Super Bowl just so we can take another team off that list.
Yeah, I think Tampa's going to. I actually think Tampa is going to do a really good job this week. They're going to show the world why they should be in the Justin Fields lottery, because Baker Mayfield is going to look terrible. Detroit's going to walk all over these guys, and they might win by 14.
Detroit's run defense is so good. I mean, they're like third in the league in run defense this year, which compared to last year is just amazing.
And all Tampa Bay has is White, right? He's the only running back they really have.
And so I think they're going to turn him one-dimensional, and I think Hutchinson's going to have a great game because he shows up in big games.
Oh, what a great pair of running backs out of Detroit,
Oh yeah,
too.
and we got two backs in
Montgomery,
Detroit, which
Gibbs-
almost they each had two. They almost had 2,000-yard backs.
Yeah.
And they came within 50 or 60 yards each.
Yeah.
Montgomery is I don't want to say a man child, but when you watch him, he's running harder than 99.9% of all running backs in the NFL. Sometimes you give it to the third round or the third string running back, and you see him just hit that hole because he wants everybody to remember his name. That's how Montgomery runs every single play. So he is exciting to watch. I think a lot of what you guys said is going to be correct. I don't think Tampa's going to run real well or anything. Problem is, I see Baker putting it up 55, 60 times, just like a Tampa Bay offense for the last few years, and on that fast field. If it wasn't in a dome, I'd take the Lions all day, but I will take Tampa to win outright, let alone those points.
All right. Yeah, and it's funny, watching the Detroit game the other night, the first drive, Montgomery had every carry. Second drive, Gibbs had every carry. So they got a two-headed running back team that is pretty awesome.
They do, and when it works, just like
works.
anything, it's always great. How awesome is this? But I always love that old expression Steve Spurrier said for college
The old
football.
ball coach.
The old ball coach. If you got 2 quarterbacks, that means you got none.
Yeah.
So if you have to switch people in and out all the time, in Detroit's case, sometimes Montgomery, this past game where I leave Gibbs for the third quarter. Keep giving that man the rock because he's possessed today. But we'll see. Once again, when everything goes well, it's a picture perfect.
So you
story.
think Tampa's going to win it outright?
I think that wide receiving core, and he's going to put it up a lot of times because I don't think they're going to be able to run. So it's not going to be a 40 attempt game. It's going to be a 50 to 60 attempts. It could be a couple records broken on attempts for Baker.
Well, no disrespect to Matt, but my game I'm most looking forward to this weekend
Lord have mercy.
is the Chiefs going to Buffalo. And this is Patrick Mahomes' first road game.
Is that the
Playoff
most
game.
incredible stat
That's
you could
incredible,
ever
isn't it?
hear?
Yeah.
He's 12-3 in the playoffs, and he's played 12 home playoff games and 3 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say about that, and then however you like to come back, the Bills are not. I mean, they're going to make some noise up in Orchard Park. They're, the Mafia is there. It's just not that loud of a stadium. It's not how Arrowhead is. It's not how Seattle is. It's not how the Dog Pound is. So, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is getting a pass by getting a ticket to Buffalo, but it's not the worst place he could play his first playoff game. And obviously,
game.
he's pretty freaking good.
Yeah. Brent, you said you had something to say about this game before we got into it. So.
Yeah, I just think, obviously this is the matchup everybody wants, right? So it's the game, right? Kansas City, Buffalo.
This is it.
And make no mistake where you are.
And the storyline of Mahomes going to Buffalo. And I've watched a lot of, being an AFC East guy, I watch a lot of Buffalo games, and I tell you what, Buffalo is 100% beatable. And I think when you're going to go back to you love Andy Reid. We talked about how Andy Reid's going to, even if Bill continues to coach, he's going to get the record. He's going to continue that way and get that win on Saturday night or Sunday night. And you just got a better coach. And McDermott, by the way, has taken a lot of heat. Like if he loses this game, they're talking about, do you replace him? So I mean,
Wow.
that's just noise that you don't want to be dealing with on a week of a big game.
Of a big
right.
game like this, yeah.
And you look at the two coaches, and then you take Mahomes, and then you take Kelsey, and you take Taylor Swift will be at the 50-yard line. She'll be all over the place, right? So
Wearing that 87 jacket.
yeah, I think and the storylines of Buffalo, you love Buffalo. They're going to lose it. I don't know. I just feel like Kansas City is going to win this game.
All right, Matt, how about you?
Well, this is a tough one, honest, because I think I saw a stat that Kansas City has dropped more passes than any other
Yes, sir.
NFL team this year. It depends on which Bills offense shows up. I mean, if the offense shows up and puts 35, 40 points up, and you got Kansas City dropping all those passes, it's hard to beat.
They didn't drop a lot of passes last week. I think Mahomes has been, because he came on, he says, we're going to figure this out. He's been finding Rice. And
He's definitely been going to Rice way more.
Way
just
more, and
because-
you're gonna see him going that way,
Kelsey
sir.
dropped a sure touchdown.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely. And you're right, Matt. I mean, they've done a ton of these drops, and you see that happen with Mahomes is, they've had all this success, right? But the salary cap and people moving around, and it's like this is pretty typical. We can go back in history and look at the 06 Patriots when they had won a couple.
Guys stealing all my material. I love it.
You lose these stats, right? And so this is just normal for what the Kansas City Chiefs are going through, and they're struggling to find the right guys. But if they got this Rice connection down here going in, they can win that game.
Well,
I mean, at the end of the day, what I was going to say is, at the end of the day, it's Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I mean,
It doesn't get much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Montana. It's like 2 minutes left to go, and Montana's got the ball. They're winning that game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Buffalo wins, I think Kansas City wins, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Well, one of the best
It's gonna be a
football
tight game.
games I've ever seen was 2 years ago in Kansas City when Buffalo and Kansas City played. It went to overtime.
13 seconds left. They had the lead, and
Crazy football game.
Mahomes went down the field in 13 seconds.
What's your take on the fake slide?
I'll say
Hate
this. I'll say this. What Pickett did in college, the quarterback for Pittsburgh, when he was in a bowl game right before he got drafted, it was a very obvious looking slide. I agree what Josh did definitely brings you there, but he's such a big guy and he runs in different positions. I think that was as far as you could go without throwing the red flag.
Yeah.
Well, and Josh never slides, anyways.
Correct.
Very, very, very few.
And he is such a fun guy to watch on third down because you never know where he's going to go. It's fun.
So, I don't know who to take in this game. I think it's going to be a great, great game. I'll just give the axe to Buffalo just because I think Kansas City's better. I mean, Buffalo was 6-6, and they won their last 5 games to win the division for the 8th straight year? Or
We've
4th
been
straight
in the
year or something
playoffs
like
for
that?
5 straight weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I think it's going to be a very enjoyable football game. And to be honest, I really don't care who wins. I just want to see a good football game.
No, and congrats to the Bills, who arguably easily may have missed the playoffs altogether.
Oh, they were 6
Absolutely,
and 6,
yeah.
and they sure weren't supposed to get a 2 seed. I'll say this on the game. The same way that you were talking about New England over the years and how, when you're trying to put that roster together, some years it falls short and then you have to figure out, next year we need more of this or more of that. This is the offseason that Andy Reid goes, okay, we have to have a wide receiver not named Rice, because although Rice is doing great things, he's not that crazy type of player, whether it be a Garrett Wilson or whoever it is. Sure. We need a dynamic player. The Bills show that off this weekend, and Bills cover.
Well, I will say this. I don't think you need that dynamic receiver because Green Bay has – nobody knows who they're going to because they don't have that dynamic receiver.
Right, but when they lose by 30 this week, we say
need
the
to-
same
we'll
thing
talk
next
about
Wednesday.
Next week. There you go. All right, we've run a little bit over today, but that's okay. What a great show.
Great job, guys.
Matt,
Good
appreciate
job.
you sitting in. Brent, as always. And, guys, don't forget, we'll be back next Wednesday at 5 o'clock for the 30 Guys Who Love Sports right here in Miller's House. Until then, know your numbers, cover your ass, get your prostate checked. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
See.